It is Mark Sebastian, your only option, and this is Option Pit Live. It is June 7th, 2024. I am joined by the queen of the candlesticks, Leisha J. Leslie, coming to us live from Glenview, Illinois, the finest suburb north of Evanston.
That's true.
Yeah, good morning, Leisha. We have a
Good
lot of
morning.
news hitting. We have a lot of news hitting. Non-farm payrolls just hit, and the data is pretty aggressive. The economy added 272,000 jobs in May, above expectations of 182,000. Unemployment rate 4%, expected 3.9. Labor force participation rate came in a little bit light. Average hourly earnings came in hot. This is the one they don't like. 0.4% month over month, expected 0.3. Last was 0.2. Average hourly earnings year over year, 4.1 versus an expected 3.9. Last was 4. So it is, under normal circumstances, we would say the market's going up, but this stock market that has some delusional obsession with rate cuts is selling off on this news. What's your take, Leisha?
Well, the jobs report came in the other day. They liked that much better, didn't they? So I guess it is the wages, right? We want
Yeah.
bad news. It's good news at the moment. Correct? We don't want a hot economy.
Yeah. We want more jobs of people making less money is what is my take.
Which is not what we want.
No,
Which is
that's
not
not
what
what we
people want.
That's not what we really want. The market, it is all comes down to this delusion of rate cuts in 2024. What I know
Well,
we've talked about this before, but what do you think are the odds of a rate cut coming anytime soon, Leisha?
I'm saying no for next week. I think September possibly, but we did have Canada and ECB all lowered. Look at the bond chart here. Very interesting that resistance I've been talking about. It looks like it's holding. Looks like they may roll over lower, especially TLT. Look at TLT this morning. Down $1.40.
Yeah.
That resistance is pretty tough for it to break through there. We might have a hanging man, and it may look to roll over there.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? Are you thinking they'll?
Here they have priced in a over 20% chance now of they had so the July rate cut was down to near zero, and somehow that thing has moved itself back to 20%. It's not going to happen. I just don't see a case. I don't see a case. There's still huge inflation. Job growth is still there. Why? Why would you need to cut rates? Where, on a positive note, if you're looking at inflation, oil has actually really pulled back. If you look at that as one of the primary drivers of inflation, oil has pulled back.
Starting to catch a bid, though.
It is starting to catch a bid.
It has reached an all-important support level there, that red median line, and bounced. And now it's catching a bid.
Yeah, I just don't. Right now, post non-farm payrolls, S&P futures are down about 20 on the news. NASDAQ futures are down about 42, so we're down about 2 or 0.3%. It's not like we're getting like a crazy move out of this. I wouldn't be surprised to see it get bought, but just this and so I would expect to actually see a greater reaction in rates. You're right. TLT, the which is basically an ETF on the long bond, down about $1.40. IEF, which is an ETF based more around the 10-year, is down about 1%. Call it 90 cents. Both of those look like they got a little overdone on some of the.
Yeah. Real quick, let's look at NVIDIA.
Yeah. Oh.
NVIDIA has a little negativity here. Yesterday's candle looking a
Mhm.
little bearish, and we're down this morning. So NVIDIA support comes in down 1160.
NVIDIA has a split, and we're going to talk about that in some more detail here as the show progresses. But they're splitting 10 for 1. Now, the other big piece of news that hit this morning is GameStop.
Oh,
Now, we all
yes.
know Roaring Kitty, Keith Gill, is doing a live stream. I know I'm going to watch. Are you going to watch?
Of course.
I mean, it's like
It's just so, it's wild.
destination streaming. I mean, it's really the two things that I would watch 100% of the time over and over again. Option Pit Live here on the Trader Hub,
Of
and
course.
Keith, of course, and Keith Gill. But
This stock
yesterday
traded 61 last night.
yesterday just a crazy short squeeze ahead of this.
But last night it traded 61 over after hours.
Oh my!
Yep.
$61. I mean, then this morning, so I think it could have traded to 100 if not for what happened this morning. This morning, GameStop comes in, pre-announces earnings, and they were bad, and then says they're going to sell more stock, and that kind of pulled the rug out, at least temporarily.
Yeah. Will Roaring Kitty be able to recover from that, I wonder?
I mean, I'd imagine he got in the teens and maybe a little bit above there. He's probably making himself some decent dough.
Yeah.
But that is an interesting piece. Now we're going to have our man Frank join us here in a little bit, because one of the controversies, and you and I have talked about this, I know you've written about this in Profits and Pumps, is the SEC coming after GameStop and Keith Gill. For what reason? It does not make a lot of sense.
Doing nothing more than what, like you were saying,
David
all the
Tepper
talking heads on
or
CNBC and
me, right? I went
all the
on.
business channels. That's what I said last night. I wrote that every day we put out trade recommendations.
Yeah, we do. And
Are you going to put us all out of business?
I mean, I went on air earlier in the week and talked about some different things that I had and that I liked and didn't like, and I'm long some and I'm short some.
All right.
All right, so that's kind of the current headlines. I wanted to look at a few other charts with you. The S&P is at an all-time high, and now we're coming off that all-time high. We gave a point away on Thursday, and we're down a little bit now. What do you see in the pitchforks?
I am seeing maybe if we roll over today, we closed just above resistance there in the last 2 days. So that is now new support today, 53.54. Below there, though, you're going to see support right around here, 5,300, right? Makes sense. That'll be our next support level.
All
Maybe
right,
here,
and then I wanted to look.
53.23.
Yeah, so if we roll over, we've got some downside. Is if we roll over, is what you're telling us.
Sure.
Nothing huge.
No.
I think I don't know what it would take us to get a real full on sell off. Like I said, I think a weak Nvidia, and if interest rates actually do start really rolling over, that's where we could see something interesting.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in the Nasdaq 100, or I should call it the Nvidia 100? Nvidia
Yeah,
is now the
exactly.
second
That's
largest
right.
company in the world. It's bigger than Apple.
Okay. Well, it made new highs yesterday. Kind of a little, possibly a change in trend candle there, maybe, or if it stays within yesterday's low, this could be bull flagging and taking another leg higher. So you watch yesterday's low there in the Qs, 462.19, and then you'll go down here, 460.60.
All right. And we're not going to hit on Bitcoin too much today. What are you seeing on the crypto markets?
I thought Bitcoin bullish flagging. It is up against the support. It's having a hard time breaking out of this older pitchfork. But yeah, consolidating around that resistance right now, but definitely looks like it's consolidating, gearing up for the next leg higher, which would be up here 73.4, say 73,400 around. But yeah, I'd say that bullish chart.
All right. Any other charts you want to hit on before we bring on our
My one
our man of
stock
the
pick
world?
is Riot.
Oh, nice.
Riot has a beautiful hammer 2 days ago. Nice confirmation yesterday. I like Riot up to 1140, 11 and 3/4, and then even possibly up here 12 and 3/4.
And it
So
doesn't look
I'm
like it's
looking at
really been
Riot today.
correlating. It doesn't really look like it's been correlating with Bitcoin as much as it should,
No,
which
it
gives you some
hasn't,
upside.
which I kind of like. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of upside, with Andrew out on assignment, I've asked our man of the world, our our Wall Street to Main Street source, our DC insider, and all around brilliant strategist, Francis J. Gregory, to join us. Frank Gregory. Frank, thank you for taking a little time. I know you don't have too much time, but Frank and I are both Villanova alums, but he took it a step further and decided to get a law degree from some school called Duke that I'd never heard of until we beat him in basketball a few years back. Just, but I'm obviously kidding. But Frank, you've worked on Capitol Hill and you've worked on Wall Street, so you've got this wide range of understanding and of kind of the world markets. I want to hit on a few things.
Sure.
Obviously, last week Trump's verdict was the topic of, and it continues to be a major topic. It definitely has ramifications politically. Do you believe there are any kind of market ramifications around Donald Trump and the verdict and everything along those lines?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. Good morning.
Oh, good to see you.
How you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I thought it was as far as the market was concerned, it was a bit of a dud.
Yeah.
I expected a much bigger impact, and it fizzled. I think a lot of people, I don't know if they're not taking it seriously or they looked at a little bit of the press around. Look, and it's all press, it's all marketing, right, on both sides around that trial, and I think people discounted it to a great degree. If you look at the polls coming out for support versus against, they didn't change. So no one was swayed by this. So I think it was kind of a big, as Andrew Giovinazzi would say, a big nothing burner, for the impact of that. Honestly, I'm a little more intrigued at the moment by our current president, Biden, and some of the actions he's been taking and how that's going to impact not just the election, but the markets, because he's kind of putting band-aids on problems that he caused, right? So he's coming out, he's trying to play a blame game, and it's good politics, right? I mean, it's going to election season. This is what folks running for office do. But he's kind of touched on the southern border. Came out a little too late, I think, in a lot of people's opinion. But what happened? An instantly attack from both sides. Not one. This was not a partisan issue. Everybody disagreed with his actions for some reason or another. He then takes actions on what's going on with the wars in both Ukraine and Israel. Attacked from both sides. The poor guy can't do anything right for either side of the aisle at the moment. So I think that might have a bigger impact, because what does that tell the market? There's a lot of unease. There's a lot of distrust in the management coming out of DC at the moment. So I think Trump was a bit of a fizzle. I think what's going on with Biden right now could have more of an impact, because he is projecting uncertainty to really the broad market and politics.
There you have it. All right, question 2. Roaring Kitty. Now, E-Trade is threatening. You've worked in the financial sector, obviously. His actions had a direct impact on movement in GameStop. The SEC is clamoring to investigate him. E-Trade is threatening to kick him off their platform. Leash and I, but you're a legal expert. Leash and I were just saying, I went on BNN Bloomberg earlier in the week, and I'm talking about a stock that I like, that I'm long. How is that any different than what he's doing? I know that there's some nuance here. What do you see as the kind of the case for going after a guy like Keith Gill?
Well, let's look at how does the SEC define market manipulation? It's, and I'll quote, activities intended to deceive or defraud investors by controlling or artificially affecting the price of securities. That's the definition of market manipulation. So you've got to look at his actions and say, does it meet that definition? I don't know that it does, particularly not today. I think it probably did more, when he did, what was it, a year and a half ago when all that initially kicked off, because he did, in fact, create an artificial market around a stock that no one cared about, had no good news. And so you could argue maybe something happened then. The bad thing now is, from an optics standpoint, is when he starts doing this and he's coming out, and then GameStop turns around and says, well, we're going to take action based on his action. That, to me, is a bigger red flag than what Roaring Kitty himself did. So I think, he's kind of, peripheral to the whole issue. I think GameStop might have stepped on it a little bit as far as
games. I mean, is anybody rooting for Keith Gill more than GameStop right now?
Oh, no kidding, right?
Folks, what do you think? Is what Keith Gill doing market manipulation, or is this just trading? Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your opinion. Couple more quick questions for you, because I know you got to run.
No,
Did you saw the jobs numbers today? They came in hot. Quick reaction to that. What are your thoughts?
I think people are getting excited because some other governments around the world were starting to lower interest rates, or making noise about lowering interest rates, and people were hoping that maybe the U.S. government would get on board with that, and this probably put a little bit of brakes on that idea.
I concur. All right, now, Frank, you have your hands in a lot of different companies. I saw last weekend you were working with youth on building drones, which was kind of a cool thing. And one of the topics that we've been kind of looking through, because they reported earlier this week, was CrowdStrike, but cybersecurity as a whole with AI. I feel like cybersecurity is a kind of an overlooked, but maybe more important than ever kind of concept. Obviously, what's your reaction to CrowdStrike? What are your view on the entire cybersecurity space?
Yeah, look, it's ever growing, right? You've got attacks coming, not just on private industry, but the public sector as well, both government, military. I had the opportunity to sit down with a few folks who are very high up in different branches of the military who are in charge of cyber policy. And they said the level of attacks coming from both China and Russia primarily are on the rise. Iran is getting involved. So this is an ever-growing problem for the government, and as big, if not a bigger growing problem for the private sector. So these cybersecurity companies are really going to get a lot of attention. They're stepping up, but it's an arms race to some degree, because every time they launch a counter, there's a new type of attack that comes in that they've got to counter. CrowdStrike, one of the things I like about them is they're actually using AI to really go deep into the systems of companies to vet out current problems, but also anticipate vulnerabilities that are going to pop up down the road. So, I'm a pretty big fan. The stock got beaten down a little bit over the last month, but I think going forward, there's going to be more and more attention and money being put towards this sector. So I'm a big fan, and I really like the AI aspect. And, if you think about it, as more autonomous systems come online in the military, we're going to be, the future of warfare is robots fighting robots. They're AI controlled. And the big issue is, can other companies, and by the way, I saw technology where over the last couple of weeks, where a group can slave into, take over a bad actor's drone and turn it around and fly it back to the actor and identify the location of the actor. So this is being, used really heavily. And, and what do you need for that? You need the type of protection that these cyber companies are going to have, because, it's kind of bad when your drones get taken over. Right. So,
yes.
Imagine so.
Now, Frank, you write a newsletter called Power Moves, and you run a newsletter service called Capital Gains. And in it, you basically use this depth of knowledge. working with traders to come up with trade ideas and stock ideas. And you brought some beauties to us. SMR, New Scale Energy, home run. AVAV was what is that? That it's a drone company. I got in on that thing. I bought in on that thing. Next thing I know, it's trading up $50. Obviously, I'm not expecting to give away the farm, but before you go, do you have any little under the radar stocks that you're keeping an eye on?
I did, and the problem is, I don't have the trading knowledge that you guys have. So a lot of times I bring these ideas, and Andrew looks at me and goes, "Yeah, Frank, we can't trade that." Yeah. I found a great one over the weekend called it's the ticker's RNMBY, and it's Rheinmetall, and they're a huge German defense contractor, and they just got a 1 million round order for tank shells that are going to be shipping to Ukraine, and I mean, just massive order, but there's no option activity that I come to find out. So I threw this great idea out. No option activity might be a good long hold though, because they're going to keep getting some very large orders. Germany shipped a bunch of Leopard tanks over to Ukraine, and these are the shells that the Leopard tanks fire. So they're really they're going to keep getting a bunch of orders. But the other one I'm keeping an eye on right now is our old friend Freeport McMoran, and I never pronounced that correctly. Copper is on fire. A couple of mines have been shut down lately, so supply is up, demand is up. Supply is down, demand is up, and that's why the price of copper is going through the roof. And a company like Freeport should be in pretty good shape to take advantage of that.
All right. Well, Frank, I know you've got to run. I really appreciate you taking 10 minutes of your time to join us today. Obviously, it's always a pleasure. And what do you think Nova's going to make the tournament this year? It's been they've been missed the last 2 years.
Well, look, it's going to be tough. I'm not making any prognostications on that. The big news in college basketball, though, is UConn screwing up and possibly losing Hurley to the pros. That's the big news in college basketball. So.
That is the big news in college basketball. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Frank Gregory. Frank, thanks again. Have a great morning.
Good seeing everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. So, Alicia, he brought up FCX. This is one I've liked. But, I feel like every time I get into this thing, my timing stinks. I feel like this one just – it like kind of – it's like a siren. It pulls you in at the absolute worst time, then just murders you.
There is some really good support below here, 47.60. Looks like it's going to open down to 49.65 today. So it's opening down. Might be an opportunity to watch for that change in trend candle, though. Always wait for the change in trend candle and the confirmation before hopping in. So it may get a little more of a pullback, and maybe a good place to hop in right around 47.5.
All right. Now let's talk about some stocks we like, and an update on what we were looking at last week. You already brought up the fact last week you were looking at IBM. You already kind of brought up that you like Riot. What's your take? Where are we on IBM?
IBM's actually starting to move higher. It's at the bouncing off of a support level here. We have 3 bullish candles. Not giant green candles, but it's a bullish pattern. Bouncing off support. I like IBM 171, and then possibly revisiting up here 175. I do still like IBM.
All right. Little before I jump in, brief update on futures. S&P futures are down 0.4%, and NASDAQ futures are down about a little bit less than 0.4%.
They've come back 10 points.
Oh wow! You're right. Yeah, they
were down
really
31
tanked at one point. GameStop is still trading around $37. I think that I cannot wait for that live stream. So here's a couple names. Last week I said I liked. I thought some of these industrial names looked interesting. Triple M and J&J. They haven't really done a lot. They were good put sales if you wanted to sell puts. Triple M's gone up a little bit, but J&J continues to just kind of flounder. but here's the one I'm looking at, and I wanted your opinion on these. I'm starting to see some bullish flow in fertilizer, and they've been so
Mosaic
bad.
and
They've been so bad for so long. Mosaic, CF Industries, Scott's Miracle Grow. They've just been so bad that at some point they've got to be an interesting play. Do you see anything in those names?
look at that downtrending pitchfork.
Yeah.
Now it's Mosaic looks to just be consolidating here,
Yeah.
which may signal that it stopped going lower. This previous low, well, right around there, right around here, you're getting some support. But then you have this previous low down here,
Mm-hmm.
28.38. I would
Ooh.
watch for, like I say, again, watch for that change in trend candle on the downtrend with the confirmation, and that's when you hop in. So watch the support and resistance levels, put those in, and before that, though, I wouldn't hop in, right?
Mm-hmm.
This will
I
hit a
wouldn't.
bottom.
And then and then the other one I wanted to look at was
SMG or
yeah, we can look at SMG or a CF. Either a CF is going to look a lot like Mosaic. But SMG is a little bit different in the space, a little more retail. But
this is
kind
not.
of they giving you issues.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think TradingView has too many people on it. It's free, so
It's just taking a minute to update here.
yes. We're only down 23 now.
Yeah.
We were down 31. Did you get the keys to Andrew's vehicle? Did you get the keys to Andrew's trading vehicle?
I'm not taking his vehicle today, but I am gonna break things down here. So, folks, if you've got, we're gonna have probably an extra minute or two at the end of the show. So if you want to throw out a chart request for Alicia at the end of the show, she'll pick one. All right, she'll pick one that she can go through. But what I'd like to do is talk about NVIDIA real briefly. And NVIDIA is going to be stock splitting. All right, it's going to have a stock split after the bell today. So this is Mark's trading bicycle. I don't really have a vehicle. I've got like a scooter. All right.
Is it an electric bike or regular?
It's got training wheels. It's a trike.
A tricycle.
At least it's not recumbent, right? Those are the worst.
With the giant flag.
Yeah. So in this segment, we're going to give Leisha a little break. She can go refresh her coffee while I walk everybody through what happens in a stock split. And I'm not just going to talk about what happens with the stock. I want to talk about the options as well. So in a stock split, so NVIDIA's splitting 10-for-1. That means right now NVIDIA is just under $1,200 a share. But let's just, for ease of use, say NVIDIA is trading $1,200 on the nose. So this evening, after the bell, NVIDIA will engage in a stock split. So if I was long 100 shares of NVIDIA for $1,200, I would be long 1,000 shares of NVIDIA for $120. And here I've got a graphic here. This is a made up example, but so stock A is doing a 2-for-1. And so when you see it written, you're going to see 2/1 most of the time, or 3/1, or 10/1. Now, if it's reversed and it says 1/10, that is a reverse split. That's a bad thing. We're not going to talk about that this week. So stock A, I'm long 100 shares. It's $250 a share. The value of those shares is $25,000, right? 100 times 250 is 25,000. stock A has a 2-for-1 stock split. So now I would own 200 shares, and those 200 shares would be worth $125. But my value of my position hasn't changed at all. It's still $25,000. All right, so that's good. Now, what happens to the options? In a stock split, believe it or not, it is the exact same thing. So if I have, let's say, a NVIDIA July 1,200 calls. So the NVIDIA July 19, 1,200 calls are $85. This is going to be very difficult for you to see, but we can try and zoom in here. They are $85. Here, I'll just cut it right here. We'll cut and zoom. This will be fun. All right, now you can see it. So they're $85. And what's going to happen is that this strike, that is the 1,200 strike, will become the $120 strike. It will become the $120 strike. All right. The options will go to $88.50 from $85. And then each option will deliver 1,000 shares. So there's no material effect on the options. But what will happen, you will notice, I'm not going to do a deep dive into the Greeks here, but what you will notice is the Greeks will change, right? You were long. If I'm long one of these calls, let's say, if I'm long two of these calls, let's say, that is going to be about 100 deltas, delta being my exposure to the stock. Well, the stock just went 10 for 1. What do you think is going to happen to my delta? That's right. It's going to go up. I'm going to be long 1,000 deltas. The option exposure when it comes to delta is going to be the same exposure as what happens to the underlying. So if I was long 100 deltas, I'm now long 1,000 deltas. If I was long 100 shares, I'm now long 1,000 shares. I'm not going to dig into gamma or anything else like that, but I just wanted you to be aware. Now, what happens to stocks when they have a split? And I'm going to show you. Just generally, all right? I'm going to use a little anecdotal evidence. And I'm going to use Amazon because Amazon had a stock split back in June of 2020. And at the time, it had been really hot. But here we are the week ahead of Amazon earnings, or the Amazon split. We have the split, and here we are after. Now, you can kind of draw your own conclusions based on that. You can create your own jump to conclusions, Matt. But what I'm looking at, this is not an unusual pattern based on my knowledge and the way I've seen trading in the past. So there you have it. There is a brief breakdown on how stock splits work, how they function, and what the general effects are. All right, cool. I don't know if Leisha's back, but hey, Leisha, you're back. We've got a couple of minutes here. I've got two things I want to do. All right. One, what do you think now that I've walked through, and folks, please feel free to comment in. NVIDIA splits tonight. Where do you have? It's currently, we'll just say $1,190. Where is NVIDIA? So which would be $119.90. Let's call it 120. Next Friday, when you, me, and Andrew are together again, is NVIDIA going to be above $120 a share, or is it going to be below $120 a share?
I'm saying above.
Alicia says above. All right. Historically, you should say lower, but this is NVIDIA.
Right.
Right.
There's
Historically,
that psychology of people that, I'm going to wait and buy it when it's only $120, when they're not realizing it's the same thing.
right. Now, historically, post-split, stocks tend to drop for a couple of days. But if you look a year later, they wildly outperform the S&P 500. A stock split is a sign of a very healthy stock. And NVIDIA is now over $3 trillion.
Unlike GME trying to sell stock on this rally.
Yeah, which is, hey, it's smart.
It is.
I would do this if I was a struggling company. I would do the exact same thing.
Yes.
Warren McGee's asking us to look at TSLL. I don't know that stock. Is that
I don't either.
That is the Direxon Daily. Oh, it's Tesla. He wants you to look at Tesla. That's
Tesla, lots of consolidation.
That's the levered Tesla. That's the levered Tesla ETF.
Look at that consolidation on Tesla.
It is, yeah.
That's called the box range and Japanese candlesticks. Generally, you do not want to trade a box range. You want to wait until it trades outside of that range. Now, how nicely, so we had a runaway gaps after earnings in Tesla here and here. Came back down, closed the gap, and generally after it closes the gap, it'll continue in the same direction it was going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of stalled here. I would wait for close above this high here. Close above 187, and then your next resistance will be this high, 199. But yeah, you want to see it break out of this range before hopping in there. And then below down here is support 167.
All right.
So yeah, you need to get some evidence. Let the price reveal itself. Is it going to trade outside the box to the upside or to the downside?
All right. Well, Alicia, we've got about, we're running up against it. Going into the open in about 20 minutes, the NASDAQ futures are currently down about a quarter of a percent. The S&P 500 is down about 0.3%. All right. So and GameStop is $37. So let's have a little fun here. All right. Now, normally I say, well, what's your take for the rest of the day for the overall market? What's your take for GameStop coming out of Keith Gill's live stream?
Like you say, the company made a smart move, preempting him, right? Or announcing before him. Will he be able to salvage, and will his following be strong enough to keep the stock higher? I would say he may get a little pop. Definitely not 61 again. Maybe he'll get $5 or something, but I would probably say GameStop closes down on the day.
All right. Now,
What
what's your take on the SPOOs as well?
What? Oh, then you got to tell me yours.
Yes, and then I will tell you mine. Don't worry. Getting an opinion out of me is usually not difficult.
This is true. So in SPX, we do have resistance. I mean, we have some support down here at yesterday's low, right? 53.37. I still think this is a bullish chart. Beautiful hammer here. I say we may have a little inside day today, a little down a little. Maybe we don't move much then down that 30 points we already were. I don't see it jumping higher, maybe by the end of the day, but I say small move inside day. And bullish overall into next week.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to buy this. That'd be my bet. I think it gets bought and we end green. On the S&P. For GameStop, this will be fun. The only way I'm wrong, I believe, all right, if GameStop goes wild, the S&P will sell off. Because that is usually, you believe it or not, these meme blowups are not a sign of an overly healthy market. It's usually not. So I think I'm with you. I think you're going to get a pop coming into like the peak time. Like GameStop will open leading into the presentation. It's going to pop. And then coming out of it, there will be a little bit of, kind of kid on Christmas effect. And I think you'll see the stock sell off. I would not be surprised to see the thing trade below $30. It's that volatile. But there you have it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, it's, time's up for us. I want to thank Frank again for joining us earlier. I want to thank you all for being here. So for Leisha J. Leslie, the Queen of the Candles, I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
See you, everyone.
All opinions expressed by Tradeyear Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradeyear nor its affiliates and or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradeyear nor its affiliates and or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradeyear Inc. is the parent company of Tradeyear Brokerage Inc. Tradeyear Brokerage Inc. and Tradeyear Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradeyear Brokerage Inc. Tradeyear Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradeyear Inc. All rights reserved. Member FINRA SIPC.